Hi everyone, I hope we're all doing well. In today's lesson we are doing a revision lesson of perimeter and area of rectangles and triangles. So today we're going to learn how to calculate the perimeter of a 2D shape and how to calculate the area of a rectangle and triangle. We will have been successful today if we can calculate the perimeter of a 2D shape and we can calculate the area of a rectangle and triangle using the correct formula. So just a reminder, perimeter is the distance around a 2D shape, like so, and area is the size of a surface, okay? We need to remember that we calculate area in units squared, okay? So for example, centimetres squared. So let's look at how we calculate the perimeter of this shape. So it says here to calculate the perimeter of a 2D shape, we add together all the sides of a shape. And we're given all the sides of this shape, so we simply just add them together like so. And that gives me 25.1 centimetres. So in perimeter, we always just measure in units because it's just a measure of length. Okay, so let's look at the area of a rectangle. So the area of a rectangle or square, we need to know its length and its breadth, okay? So its length is along here and its breadth is along here, and we simply multiply them together. Okay, so A equals L times B. Again, this is something we probably have covered before. So in example 2 here, we are being asked to calculate the area and perimeter of this square. So one thing we know about a square is we know that all of its sides are the same length. So let's start by calculating its perimeter. So there's two ways we could do this. We could do 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 to get us 20. Or a slightly shorter way we could do it is we can say that there's 4 sides there with length 5, so we could do 4 times 5. Okay, but either way is correct, and that gives us 20 centimetres. I'll put in brackets here that you could also just do 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. Then we are asked for the area, so A equals L times B. In the case of a square, it's the same as saying L squared. And that gives 25 centimetres squared this time. Okay, example 3. Calculate the area and perimeter. So let's start with the perimeter. What we know about rectangles is we know that they are opposite sides of the same length. So if it's 8 here, it's going to be 8 here too. And if it's 3 here, it's going to be 3 here too. So to calculate the perimeter, I can do 3 plus 8 plus 3 plus 8, which equals 22 centimetres. You could also multiply the 8 by 2, the 3 by 2 and add them together. That's also fine. Okay, area of this rectangle then, A equals L times B. The length is 8, the breadth is 3, which gives 24, remembering my units, centimetres squared. Okay, so in this example here, it's the same, it's the area of a rectangle, but it's problem solving as well. So David decides to varnish the Scout Hall floor, calculate the area of the floor. So it's a rectangle, so let's start by doing that. A equals L times B. A equals 30 times 20.5. And A equals 615 metres squared. Again guys, the same as the circle, the same as volume. It is really important that when we're doing this, we're laying out our working. Okay, so part B says a litre of varnish covers 15 metres squared. How many 1 litre tins will be needed for 1 coat of varnish? So in order to figure this out, we need to know, well, how many times does that 15 metres squared go into the full size of our floor, which is 615 metres squared, and that is a division sum. So we do 615 divided by 15, which gives me 41, which means we need 41 litres of paint to cover that floor once. C says if each tin costs £8.75, what will it cost to cover the floor with 2 coats of varnish? So in part B we found out we need 41 litres of varnish to cover it once. So let me figure out how much I will need to cover it twice. So I times it by 2, which is going to give me 82 litres. So I need 82 litres of paint. It costs £8.75 per litre. So I'm going to have to multiply 82 by £8.75, which is going to get me £717.50. Okay. Right, moving on then. Area of a right angled triangle. So if we've got a right angled triangle here and we join another right angled triangle onto it, we can see that this forms a square or a rectangle. Now, we know that we usually refer to this as the length and breadth. So have a little think before I tell you what you think the formula would be for one right angled triangle. So for area of a rectangle, we do length times breadth, but the triangle's half the size. So technically it's length times breadth divided by 2, but we use different terms when talking about a triangle. So instead of having length and breadth, we're going to have base and height, okay? So the formula for the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Okay, so calculate the area of this right angled triangle. Now the reason I'm doing right angled triangles first is because it's slightly easier in the fact that the height is always one of the sides in a right angled triangle, because one of the sides is perpendicular to the floor, okay? So it won't always be like that, but we'll look at examples like that first. So let me start off by doing my formula. A equals base times height divided by 2. The base is 12, the height is 9, and that's divided by 2. Now, if this is non-calculator, what I would always say is the easiest way to do this is to take one of the numbers and divide it by 2 first. Because when you're doing non-calculator work, you always want to try and keep your numbers as small as possible throughout it. So doing 12 times 9 and then having to divide by 2 seems a bit trickier to me than just dividing one of those numbers by 2 first and then multiplying at the end. So dividing 9 by 2 would give me a decimal. I don't want to do that, but 12 is an even number, so I can divide that by 2 quite nicely to give me 6. I've still got to multiply by 9. Now all I've got to do is 6 times 9, which is 54, and it's centimetres squared. Okay, example 2. So they've given us 3 sides here, but that's just to throw us off. We only need its base and its height. Now this is almost an upside down triangle, so the base is actually 15 and the height is 8. So I've got 15 times 8 divided by 2. Again, I'm going to pick one of those numbers to divide by 2 first. So I'll divide 8 by 2 because that's the even number. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And now all I've got to do is 15 times 4, which is 60 centimetres squared. Okay, so then the area of any triangle, all that changes is now the height is not necessarily one of the sides. It might run through the triangle, okay? You would never measure your own height standing far away from you. You would measure it from your feet to your head. So we would measure the height of a triangle straight down from the floor, straight up to its highest point, okay? So we're never going to take one of the slant sides as its height. Calculate the area of this triangle. So A equals B times H divided by 2. A equals, this time the base is 40, the height is 23, and divide by 2. So I'm going to pick the 40 divide by 2, that is going to give me 20 times 23. If this is non-calculator, remember we can break 20 down into 2 and 10. So if I times the 23 by 2 first, that is going to give me 46. and then timesing that number by 10 is putting a 0 on the end, so 460 centimetres squared. Because of the type of triangle this is, the height is shown on the outside, but it is still the height as it is the measurement of the floor to the highest point of that triangle, okay? So A equals base times height divided by 2. The base is 6.25. The height is 8, and we've got to divide by 2. So I'm going to divide the 8 by 2 first to give me 6.25 times 4. Again, if this was on calculator, you could either set up a chimney sum or you could do 6 4 plus 0.25 times 4, okay, to give 25 metres squared. Okay guys, that's all a bit of revision for you. You might not remember doing this, but just keep watching the video through and I'll be setting some exercises on that today as well. Okay guys, thanks.